Hello, everybody. This is Tito Bort, CEO at Alti Sales, with another Superstar series here. This one's going to be a fun one because it's slightly different from what we've done before. We've seen reps who are very specifically good at cold calling or specifically good at direct mail or email or things like that. And today we have an SDR who has just incredible business acumen, and he is a master of the SDR craft and a lifelong kind of like learner of becoming an expert. So it's just a pleasure to have him here. Jeremy Leveille, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Tito. Great to be here, and I'm looking forward to talking to you.
Yeah, man. So much fun, so many cool things that I've heard about you, and of course impressed with 69 booked meetings in 1 month. You've beaten even our internal record of 47,
Okay.
which I was really proud of.
Mm-hmm.
So I am both heartbroken and jealous, but also excited because I'm gonna learn something from you today. That's my goal.
Hopefully, yeah. And that was only my second full month with the company here at LeadIQ, and it was just I think last week was my 3-month mark that I've been with LeadIQ. So I set 141 meetings in my first 3 months here.
That is just incredible. I'm gonna dive a little bit deeper into that because if you're listening to this, you're like 140 meetings, like, oh, you're probably blasting the market like crazy, and just like no, there were no other SDRs ever before, and like there's all these other like hacky ways to just bring really bad quality meetings. But I've talked to you before this podcast a little bit, and I've inspected that and make sure that these are actual good quality meetings that are positive pipeline and are going to bring revenue to the company. But before we dive into that, I want to give the audience a little bit of context. Like, tell us where do you work? What does the company do? What are you selling? Who's your target market? Also, like, who do you sell to? All that gives a little bit of background.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a BDR, SDR, ADR, whatever you want to call it, with LeadIQ. LeadIQ is a startup. We've been around for about 4 years now. We're a sales enablement tool that is a combination data and workflow, being able to seamlessly in real time get verified data like direct dials, cell phone numbers, and email addresses for pretty much anybody that you could want to sell to, and getting that data from anywhere on the web, including LinkedIn or company websites, into the sales tools that a company might use, like their CRM, Sales Loft Outreach, stuff like that, and just makes a sales rep's job, specifically an SDR's job, a heck of a lot easier. And so I'm selling to sales leaders. Sometimes it ends up being a marketing leader, director of sales ops, marketing ops, sales ops, SDR managers, VP of sales, that kind of thing.
Cool. Yeah. So you're selling the data. You're helping companies get emails and phone numbers, and actually something you guys really talk about is getting a lot of direct dials through cell phones. So actually, we just purchased LeadIQ ourselves, and we're testing it out. We'll report back with more results in the next upcoming weeks or whatever. But I'm really excited to dive a little bit deeper into your work, right? So we already kind of like broke the news to the audience here, 69 meetings in a month. But what's your split? Like, how many of those are inbound? How many of those are outbound? How do you classify them, right? Is a white paper download inbound or outbound? Help us understand where these are coming from, what you're doing.
Yeah, sure. So I'd say 90%, maybe 95% of what I do is outbound. And so, I'm really trying to strategically target different accounts to go after and leads to go after, and set some meetings. Last month when I had 69 meetings, some of them, I think like 18, 20 of them were from an event. We had a booth at the AAISP Leadership Summit, but it's not like I just, it was just booking meetings with anybody that came to the booth. I mean, I had to actually have a good conversation with them. There had to be actual interest there, and I had to be able to really think on my feet and be nimble And, I can't just do a bunch of research and then call them, or do a bunch of research and then email them. Like, these are people, it's just like real time. They're just coming up to the booth. And I had to really think on my feet really quickly, look at their badge and put two and connect the dots, be like, okay, that's the name of their company, that's their title, and that's their name. And then try to figure out what industry that they're in, how they might be able to use LeadIQ, what our value might be based on their company and based on their title, what their role is, and be able to just ask some questions. And I knew that they weren't going to stay at our booth very long, and be able to get some meetings that way, and set the meeting right there with them at the booth. So I got about 10 of them with them at the booth, and then 10 others from that event that I had to follow up with them afterwards.
Right.
But we consider those outbound. That I think there was only like 6 or 7 out of the 69 that were actually inbound.
Okay, so 6 or 7 that came to the website, requested some info or
Like
whatever,
drift, yeah.
or like
Drift, or they called the talk to sales line or something like that, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So 6 or 7 through websites. So that's 62 outbound, 42 direct outbound, 20 marketing qualified through an event outbound. Well, I call that warm outbound. I have a blog about it, so I agree with you that I consider that outbound. That's really cool. So like internally, like your quota and what you get measured on and usually comped on, what does that look like? Is it just you just gotta book the meeting, or does it have to show up? Do you get comped on revenue closed, or a combination of a few different things?
Yeah, so my quota is just like on outbound ops opportunities generated. I got to get at least 15 each month, and then I'm also comped on the opportunities, but also revenue from closed deals as well. So we have a little bit of a shorter sales cycle usually. So there's some motivation there to not just book meetings, but book meetings that are going to turn into closed deals.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. I think I might have been the longest sales cycle in your company. I've been. I think the first time I looked at
3
it
or 4
was like a
months.
year ago. Yeah, it feels
Oh,
like
wow.
forever.
A year, yeah, that is a long sales cycle. Sometimes it could be up to a year. Like if maybe a customer had just signed a contract like a month or 2 ago, with one of our competitors, and then they end up closing like 10 months later.
Yeah.
But usually it's a shorter sales cycle than that.
I think that was the case. I think I started looking at you guys maybe in September last year, and I had bought something in August, and my team wasn't big enough to bring 2 or 3 data sources, and then like I signed up for another competitor also selling data in January or February, and then or maybe March. I don't even recall when this was. And then I was like, nope, I need a little bit more in these other target areas. And again, we build sales development teams for various companies, so I have a lot of data needs across different industries and segments. So
Yep.
anyway, that makes a lot of sense. Good to hear a little bit about the company and where you're at. But tell us about the secret sauce. Like, what are you doing today that other SDRs are not doing that allows you to book 40, 60 meetings a month? That why can't every SDR book 40?
Yeah, so I mean, I think part of it is just being having the drive and work ethic. I mean, I'm sure anybody that you've had on your podcast, Tito, they put in a little bit extra work in. They're not just doing the 9 to 5 or 8 to 5. They're putting a little extra effort in. I'm here doing this podcast at the office at 9:15 at night, for example, on the East Coast. So I was recording videos and sending them to prospects at like 9 o'clock last Friday night, and booking meetings from those videos. So part of it is just putting that that extra effort in, but also just being able to in my messaging, whether it's on in videos, phone, email, LinkedIn, whatever. I think part of the special sauce is being able to get it down to the messaging so that your messaging is concise and it is adding value to your target buyer. And at the same time, it doesn't sound super salesy. It's instead of being salesy and all really professional, my messaging is really conversational and informal. I just talk like a human being. I just talk like, I would just talk to my buddy that I'm getting a beer with. And I think that resonates with people. send an email with a bunch of bullet points and put regards at the end of the email and dear Tito at the top of the email. I just try to like talk like a human being, and and also get creative with some stuff too. Like I sent a video to some people, prospects in Atlanta, and I recorded myself lip syncing to the song by Ludacris, "Welcome to Atlanta," and I had a Dominique Wilkins throwback Hawks jersey on. Like I just try to do different stuff that's creative, that maybe other people are a little bit afraid to kind of, they need to be formal and professional, but
Right.
we have kind of the freedom here being a new startup and working with somebody like Ryan O'Hara, who, is a little wacky and creative too himself. So, you're able to kind of do some different things, to be creative and have some good success.
That's really awesome. And tell us like how you got there, because like executing to the level that you're executing doesn't just come naturally, right? Like I've hired over 100 SDRs myself through my career as an SDR leader, and I get a lot of like young people who come out of college. They're like, "Oh, I have 32 ideas that we should do," and then they fail to execute, or they don't have the business acumen or whatever. And then I have people who like, learn some stuff about SDR for 6 months, and then like they just try to do that for the rest of the time that they're there, and they stole their learning. So
Hmm.
tell us about your career trajectory, how you got to where you are today, and yeah, what's giving you that edge?
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, like a lot of it, like you said, it's a lot of trial and error. I didn't just come in, to being an SDR 6 months ago and have a bunch of ideas and then just try different stuff. Like, I've been in sales since I got out of college. I'm 32 right now. So I think that's part of having a little bit of an edge. Most people that are SDRs, they're wide-eyed, bushy-tailed kids out of college, and don't have much experience. So I've kind of had some trial and error over 10 years, doing sales in various different roles. And I'm sorry, what was what
Yeah,
was the
no,
question?
that makes sense. 10 years, but like, tell us more. Like, if you can get a little bit more specific on the things that you've done. Like, did you work at how many companies? Like,
Okay, yeah.
did you cold call? Did you
Hmm.
email? When was it the first time you did direct mail or video?
Yeah.
Um, how did that turn out? Like, how quickly did you figure out it was a good strategy? Like, all those things are fascinating to me.
Yeah. So I got started to get good at sales. Had a really good sales manager. This is about 3 years ago. I was actually working for a company similar to yours, called Chameleon Group in New Hampshire. They are an outsourced third-party lead generation appointment setting firm, for a bunch of different tech companies. And before I took that job, I was like 27, 28. And before I took that job, I was like, I wasn't having a lot of success at sales at previous jobs. I didn't even want to do sales anymore. But I went in there and took the job anyways. Had a really good sales manager, named Tom Stewart, and he did some call coaching with me. And our calls recorded, and he took like 3 or 4 calls where I had conversations, but they didn't turn into meetings. And there was like objections and stuff, and he just played the calls and broke them down for me, would pause them, um, and then say, hey, hear what you said right here. What if you had said this instead? Or what do you think about the way you said this right here? And well, what if you had said this? And we just broke down, X's and O's, really broke it down and got in the weeds with like those 4 calls. And that half hour, is probably the single thing that got me better at sales more than anything. So that helped a lot to kind of get my confidence up to the level where I could actually do the job of being a BDR SDR. Because that month, that was my like second, third month there. That was the first month I hit quota, as a BDR, and then I hit it the next 6 months in a row, and 8 out of the next 10 months, and kind of the rest is history. And that was before I even started doing anything on LinkedIn. Then after that is when I started to, really be able to learn, all the different stuff out there by reading podcasts and books and blogs and stuff like that, to be able to learn and do some of the social selling stuff that I've gone on to do from there.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it seems like, after having somebody who can coach you and train you and enable you and can give you a framework to follow,
Hmm.
it kind of like lit up a light bulb, and now you're so good at it. Tell us a little bit about your current outreach. Like, You mentioned video.
Yep.
Um, what does that look like or sound like, or what do you bring attention to, right? Is it just the same pitch over and over again, regardless of the medium, or what do you think about when you're putting these together?
Yeah, I mean, I try to make the videos personalized, as much as I can. I'll look at people's Twitter profiles, because usually people will put, they'll put more personal things about them, like hobbies and stuff, on their Twitter, or favorite sports teams and stuff, than they will on their LinkedIn. So one prospect just the other day, I shot a video, and it said that he's into biking. So I shot a video with me sitting on my bicycle. So just little things like that. I have a collection of NBA throwback jerseys. So whatever city that the prospect is in, I probably have a throwback jersey. So if they're in Atlanta, I can wear my Dominique Wilkins throwback jersey. If they're in Portland, I have a Clyde Drexler throwback jersey that I'll wear. Stuff like that. But I just try to, again, regardless of if it's video or email, phone, whatever the medium is, I just try to be concise. Any video, it's under a minute, and I just try to be not salesy and not super professional, just conversational, and just kind of convey the value that LeadIQ brings. And also, I try to really figure out the context. And so a lot of what I do at LeadIQ is, like, I can try to just have a kind of a random, like, without any context message if I don't know what any of the tools are that the client is using currently. But I try to figure out, based on, if I'll look in Salesforce and see if we've had conversations with that company in the past. Maybe there's some notes in there and I can tell what some of their other tools are that they're using. And then I can kind of be able to tailor the conversation that way.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. I think that's awesome. I kind of want to buy jerseys from all the sports teams around the nation, because if you're doing, dude, yeah, even if they're cheap ones, like I'll buy them on Amazon. Doesn't matter. But like if you're whatever, like if you're in North Carolina and I'm with my like Panthers, football jersey, I'm like, hey, what's up, man? Like that
Yeah.
creates a connection. They're like, oh, you're also from North Carolina. It feels more homey. It feels like, oh, like we're similar already in
Mhm.
one way. Let's see what you have to say, right? Because isn't it like I tell a lot of people that I think we're in the humanization of sales development, right? Like it's funny how things are today, but look at like Zoom. Like every time I hop on a Zoom meeting, I now turn on my camera. Like
Mhm.
5 years ago, the technology wasn't there. Like doing a go-to meeting was like a big deal. Like, oh, let's share faces. It was like, ooh,
Mhm.
when I share faces, it was like I would, if I was talking to somebody across the country, I'd just talk to them on the phone and it would be a voice, and then hopefully I'd go visit. But today we're so much more human because I can see
Mhm.
you and I can see your expressions, and we can
Yeah.
talk. And it also happens in sales development. Like it was all these emails before, and now we're getting some videos, and like the voices, like still on the phone, and you might sound a little bit of a stranger, but like if you send me direct mail, it's like, wait a second, somebody sent me a basketball jersey, like a throwback jersey from like 10 years ago. Like, oh,
Yeah.
holy shit. Like, I love biking and there's a biking video. It's like,
Mhm.
you're a human looking for a human connection. And that humanization of sales, I think, is what's driving performance today, because we're all tired of being thrown into, like, haven't we all gone to freaking conferences and gone into marketing automation flows that we hate?
Oh yeah.
Like, we hate that. I don't know anyone who
Mhm.
likes that. And you're doing the complete opposite. You're
Mhm.
showing that you're human and this is not just a sequence,
Yep. Yeah,
not
and
just some drip, right?
yeah, exactly. You try to humanize the process, and one another way I try to do that is, like, I'll look at mutual connections that I have with the prospect, and like today I was crafting an email to a prospect, and I clicked mutual connections, and I saw Cole Fox was a mutual connection. He used to sell for LeadIQ. I saw so and so was a mutual connection, and she's a customer of ours. So I can just kind of like pull those things out, and so and so is a so and so is a mutual connection, and they made a post on LinkedIn about how they did a demo with us, and it went really well, and recommending and stuff like that. So that's three different emails in a sequence that I can use, and those are all personalized, and to that person it's going to seem really personalized and not just like part of some drip campaign. But another thing that I've been doing to kind of like break the monotony of like, every call and email kind of being the same is, and I did a video about this the other day on LinkedIn, was I'll in my voicemail, because everybody's voicemail sounds the same. And you just say your quick value prop, here's my name, company name, phone number and stuff. I've been doing this thing where in my voice, at the end of the voicemail, I say, I'm going to also send you an email right now with a dancing banana. Here's my phone number. Then then they check their email, and yeah, I have like value prop, whatever, some context around, why I'm trying to reach out to them. And then, but the bottom of the email, there's going to be a dancing banana GIF. So it's like, it's the dancing banana GIF has nothing to do with LeadIQ, but it's a pattern interrupt, because as a buyer, psychologically, the prospect is just used to getting all these voicemails that all sound the same, seeing emails that all are the same. They see a dancing banana, or they hear a dancing banana in the voicemail, and then that's going to stand out, and that's going to be the one voicemail that they heard all day, or the one email that they saw all day that actually was like different. So,
Dude,
I just try to do different stuff like that to stand out.
I love that. I think that my voicemails are gonna start now with like, "Hey
But if you
John,
do it too, then it won't work for me. So don't do that.
I guess I won't do a dancing banana. What do I do?
You can do something else though.
Yeah, but here's what I'm imagining, right? So if you're prospecting me, right, and you leave me a voice was like, "Hey Tito, I'm sending you a dancing banana right now via email," and the reason I was reaching out is because X, and I think it would benefit your business, right? Because I saw that you build sales development teams and you need better data and just better phone numbers and emails. I'm sure that if we can improve that, that'd be beneficial to your team. Hopefully you can reach back out to me. Just respond to my dancing banana email or call me at blah blah blah. And then I get an email that says, like, I would wait maybe 3 hours or so, and the reason for that is like they might not check their voicemail immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would send an email with a subject, dancing banana,
Yep.
right? And then it would be like, "Hi Tito, hope you got my voicemail.
Mm-hmm.
In case or like in case you need a reminder about how we can partner up with Alti Sales, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's what we do, or whatever.
Oh
Or
yeah.
here's what I know about you. Here's why it matters, right? Why you? Why now?
Yep. And it's going to be different. It's going to be different than all the other voicemails and emails that they got.
Right.
Like, and when
P.S.
I sent that video of the Welcome to Atlanta video to those prospects in Atlanta, the subject line says, "Made you a rap video." Like, who's not going to open that email? Made you a rap video, and then you click and you can see me like lip syncing to "Welcome to Atlanta" with the Hawks jersey on. So it's just different than what trying to stand out, break through the noise.
That's incredible, man. And it's also, but it's hard sometimes, right? So like, if you're an SDR who just started his job 1 month ago,
Mm-hmm.
would you just give him all the tools to do all these things, or like, I think my biggest challenge is like, if you're a new SDR, you haven't even learned the workflow. Like, tell us about
Yep.
your activities. How many calls do you make per day? How many emails do you send per day? And
Mm-hmm.
it seems like these are quite personalized, right? So like,
Yeah. So what I've been doing is much lower volume, and just like hyper targeted, and personalization. So I'm really being targeted with the companies that I'm going after in the contacts at those companies, and having some type of context around it. So maybe they're people that I saw viewed my LinkedIn profile, or maybe there's somebody who liked one of my videos or liked one of Ryan O'Hara's videos or something. There's maybe some interest there that I know of that in that way, or maybe we had an opportunity with them a year ago before our product is as good as it is now. So there's some type of context, or I know that they're using, one of our competitors that we have some really good differentiators on. So I'm wrapping that context in there. And yeah, I forget where I was going with that. Maybe you can edit that part. What was the question again?
so no, it was about the new SDRs, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
funny,
Yeah. So
right?
if you're new though, I mean, like I wouldn't do all this like really super creative stuff. I mean, like I've been doing this for a while, so I've just like done a lot of trial and error kind of stuff to figure out like, when to kind of like how to be able to do this creative stuff like that. But as a new SDR, if you're just like 1 month in, I mean, I would just be focusing on really getting, knowing your customer, figuring out what makes your buyer, your prospect tick, what's going on in their world, what their challenges are, what their pain points are, what their problems are, really being able to figure out, know your customer, know your product, know why the hell they would know why they should care about your product, get your value prop down, your differentiators down, be able to speak that language of your buyer in a really concise, non-salesy, you know, um, conversational, informal way. Just get that
Right.
down and be able to get your messaging down on all channels, and then worry about the creative stuff later. But get the
Cool.
basic down first.
So you're saying lower volume, right? And it's funny because when you say that, I've the range of volume that I see across teams, like some people's like, oh no, we're very high volume. I'm like, oh yeah, like how many calls are you making? But they're like, I'm like at 45. I'm like,
That's not that
wait,
high.
you mean 45 as high volume? Like we make 120 a day. Like what
Hmm.
is that, right? So when you say low volume, how
Yep.
many calls, how many emails? Like
Sure.
you can give us a
Mhm.
week since not every day is going to be the same. But
Sure.
like on your average, how many calls, how many emails, how many videos, how many like what does that look like?
Yeah. So I would say on a given day, it's maybe around 20, 25 calls that I'm making. Um, and emails, probably about 25 emails a day, maybe like 3 or 4 in mails a day, um, and and then I'm chatting with people on LinkedIn that I'm already connected to. That's another part that I have like 6,500 connections, probably a lot more than most SDRs. But there's an SDR at Gong that has like way more than me. He's at like 8,300 or something. So that's part of it. Chatting with people on LinkedIn, probably like, I don't know, 20 LinkedIn messages to first degree connections a day, and then maybe like a couple of direct mail things that I'll do per week, and maybe 3 videos that I'll do per day. So in
Right.
total, it's like 20 calls, 20 emails, something like that a day, maybe 25. So it's definitely on the lower volume, but really targeted and personalized with all the outreach.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. And for you, it's a combination of all channels, right? You're talking about your LinkedIn connections and so on. Um, yeah, I think my LinkedIn connections are also around like 8,000 or 9,000 or whatever.
Hmm.
And it depends. You it's not just about adding anybody and everybody, right? The question is, can you keep your network relevant to your content, right? So it's funny for
Yep.
both you and I, like our network overlaps a lot actually, like because you're
Yep.
selling to sales and sales development leaders and marketing. And we're
Hmm.
also like, well, you're selling the data, we're selling the appointments, right? We're like, hey, we can help
Hmm.
your team get better through both consulting and outsourcing and all that.
Hmm.
Um, but like I get people to add me from all parts of the world. Like I get a bunch of connections from India, like as a big market. And
Hmm.
I look at their profiles and like most of the time I'm like, well, unless you're like doing sales development for a very important company, I'm gonna reject because you must be just a data researcher trying to get my connect and then you have access to my email and then I get prospect. Like
Hmm.
we're not connecting to you, right?
Yeah.
How are you growing your LinkedIn network? Like, do you think very strategically about it? How much do you engage there? It seems like you're doing much more social than any
Hmm.
of the other SDRs that I've talked to. And it's also you've built this brand for 10 years, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing that we're able to do with LeadIQ, you can click and be able to get anybody that's liked one of your LinkedIn posts, and then be able to just import them right into your CRM or whatever. So one thing when I'm prospecting is I'll kind of look at that too. I'll see who viewed my profile, I'll see who liked my post, stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I've just built my network over. It's taken some time. I've had LinkedIn for 7 years or whatever. But haven't really been on there a lot for it's been like 3 or 4 years. And yeah, I mean, I'm just connecting. Like my last company was a pretty big company, so it was Navisite, but it was owned by Spectrum Enterprise, which is a Fortune 100 company. And I connected with pretty much everybody. I mean, like anybody that was in sales, marketing, whatever. Um, and then outside of the company, I was just trying to connect with other people that were in sales development, business development. My last company, I was connected with a lot of people that were in IT directors, CIOs, chief information security officers, IT managers, because that's who I was selling to. So I've just been able to connect with a lot of people in similar roles. If they're VP of sales or whatever, and they're people that I might be able to just help out, and we can help out each other. If we're both SDRs, or we're both in sales development, business development, you never know how you can help each other out. And I just try to grow my network and build my brand that way. Somebody like shares one of my posts or likes one of my posts or comments or something, I'll just send a quick connection request that way, and always personalizing it.
That's cool.
So yeah, just over time, you're just able to build the network and build your brand.
What's something that you would recommend other SDRs do, right? You said you personalize a lot, you have a great business acumen, you're like, humanizing this development process by jerseys and bikes and some videos and things like that. But, if I'm a newbie SDR, I just started my job, second week, bumped into Tito's post, watching you right now, what's your biggest recommendation for, other than you should, of course, buy LeadIQ so you can get at least the data to
Yeah.
being non-salesy outside LeadIQ, right? What do you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, if it's just your second week, like I said, I mean, your first month, even first 2 or 3 months as an SDR, if you don't really have much sales experience, just get the basics down first. Worry about social selling stuff, posting on LinkedIn. Worry about doing that kind of stuff later. I wouldn't even really do videos. Don't worry about doing videos or direct mail or do any creative, kind of stuff. Don't go breakdancing at the AAISP, leadership summit banquet like I did in front of 800 people, wearing a crazy flamingo suit. During your first couple months, just get the basics down. Get good at, messaging on your calls and emails. Nail your value prop, nail your differentiators, know your customer, know why the hell they should care. And to be able to get that knowledge, read some books, listen to podcasts. The best way I was able to really get good at my last job, I know you posted, you're looking to find some SDRs that were good at selling to like IT and technical people, IT directors and CIOs and stuff like that. Number one way I was able to get good at doing that, selling to IT people, because I didn't have an IT background. Like, I'm talking to people that have been in IT for 10, 20 years. Like, how the hell am I supposed to be able to have a meaningful conversation with these people?
Right.
Number one way was CXO Talk. CXOTalk.com is the number one podcast they interview CIOs, CTOs, technology thought leaders, from companies like SAP and Oracle and stuff. And it's like a 45-minute episodes, and I probably watched at least 50 episodes of that during like a 1-year span when I was an SDR selling to IT people. And that did more for my business acumen than anything else. You're able to really understand the world of a CIO, IT director, what's going on in technology, how these CIOs are trying to align technology with the business, because
Right.
it really ends up being a business conversation, not necessarily about servers and networking switches and stuff. It's really more of the holistic big picture, that how is that technology impacting the business. So I was able to really gain that knowledge by checking out that podcast. So get the basics down, but then really take your knowledge an extra step with your business acumen, and check out books and podcasts and blogs that are relevant to your buyer and relevant to your industry.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that seems like a really good idea, right? Figure out not only what helps you be a better SDR, but what is currently your target market focusing on? Who are they reading? Who are they listening to? And can you listen to the same to learn a better understanding, or get a better understanding of how do they talk? What do they talk about? What's their pace of speech? Like, even those patterns are interesting, right? When you call to a VP of sales, like, something we do is, like, I might call you and be like, "Hey, John, this is Tito with Alti Sales. You have 2 minutes, right?" And they're like, "No, I'm busy." I'm like, "Come on, man. I'm a sales guy. You're a sales guy too. Give me 2 minutes." And they're like, "Fuck yeah, that's amazing. Yes, right?
Yeah.
Pitch me." I've had VPs of sales tell me, "Pitch me," because they know I'm calling to pitch them something, right?
Oh
And
yeah,
they're
yeah,
okay
of
with it
course.
now. But like, you try that with an engineer and you'll get shut down so bad. They'll be so pissed if you're like, "Come on, you're an engineer. Like, I'm a sales guy. Like, give me 2 minutes."
Yeah, they'll just hang up on you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they'll
you got
be
to be able to
pissed.
talk their language and speak their language.
Exactly.
So by watching like a podcast like that, then when I'm talking to an IT director for a healthcare hospital, instead of just like trying to pitch my product, I'm talking about, hey, I know what's going on, at hospitals, how instead of just traditional healthcare, you're doing like value-based healthcare and population health and stuff like that. Like most SDRs calling a hospital have no idea what the hell population health and value-based healthcare is, and how artificial intelligence is impacting the healthcare industry. But I'm able to have that conversation, and because I watched that podcast, and now that guy's like, whoa, okay, yeah, I'll engage in a conversation because this person's actually able to talk on my level.
Right. So it seems like what you're talking about is like what's going away is mindless prospecting, right? Like the fact of like just throwing thousands of people in a sequence, right? It's almost like the old, like what's coming through my mind right now is it used to be that like you would just send mass emails with like, hey there, to everybody. And then some genius guy came up with this idea of like, what if we use their name as a variable and we say, hi, Jeremy, and hi, Tito, right? And then I bet that when they started that, like open rates and response rates through the roof, right? And they're like, okay, cool. Like, oh, what if we like improve the design? And then like everybody, beautiful design and better response rates, right? And then they were like, wait a second, now everybody knows that design means mass email, so let's take the design away. And it's been the evolution. And what's happening today is like, even if your email looks very one-to-one, but it's like, hey John and value prop close, everybody reads through that in a heartbeat. And now you gotta humanize it. You gotta show them that we're not part of an automation campaign, right? The AI, oh yeah, this AI is selling me. Like nobody wants to be sold by AI. They want to have a human connection with somebody who speaks their language. Has actually done enough research to provide them value, rather than I'm a sales rep who just wants to sell as much as I can so I can pay my bills. So let me throw you as a prospect into some automation bullshit that will bring you nothing but might bring me a client, right? Feels like a scam at this point.
Yeah, and that's why LinkedIn helps so much to kind of bring the human element to it, so that your prospect actually knows who you are. And a lot of times I'm reaching out to people who I'm already connected to, or I'll reference number of connections. I have somebody that I'm prospecting right now, who I have over 700 mutual connections with. So the subject line of the email that I sent him was 727 mutual connections. So it just makes it a lot easier to kind of break through the noise when you can just kind of reference, hey, notice you're connected to so and so. They're a customer of ours. Here's something that person posted on LinkedIn about us, and it just makes it more personal that way. And that person, awesome. that I have 727 mutual connections with, it was the company's 16th anniversary as a company the other day, and I sent them a cake. I mailed them a cake. I looked up a bakery that was nearby where their office is, and I had a cake delivered that said "Happy 16th Anniversary." So, some of the things you can do to get creative and break through the noise.
That's incredible. I hope not all my connections will get prospected by you. I see we're working with Tito and you're a connection. But anyway, no, that's cool. I think that's a creative way to go find more prospects, right? If you're building your own lists and like trying to sell your products. And again, you're at a startup. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the company, right? How many SDRs are the company? How many AEs? What's your structure like? And what's your price point for the product, right? Because again, like I've had some people on the podcast that are selling, deals that are like 300 grand at a minimum. And they're like, like they hear 69 meetings, and it's not only like ridiculously high, but also unrealistic, right? Their goal is to get 4 or 3, right? So if they get 7, they're good. So let's give them some context. Like, what's your average contract value? How many SDRs? How many AEs at the company? How's this structure?
Yeah, so we're a pretty small team, lean and mean team, and we're hiring right now. So anybody watching who wants to work for LeadIQ, right now we actually only have, I'm the only SDR. We had 2, but she just recently left the company, and we have 2 account executives. So but it's basically 2 and 2 AEs and SDRs, but we're hiring and looking to scale and grow the team. And as far as, average deal size, I would say, I mean, it's probably like the minimum deal size is like 400 or 500 MRR. But that's for like a really small team. Like the minimum team size we have is 3 users. But a lot of times we're closing deals with teams that are 25, 50, 100 users, 200 users. In which case it would be up to 5 or 10 grand MRR. So it just depends on the size of the company.
Right.
But
Yeah,
it
that's
could
awesome.
be in most cases at least 1K MRR.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that
Hmm.
makes a lot of sense. That's
So on the smaller end, it's they're smaller, shorter sales cycle, and fairly on the smaller end in terms of deal size.
right. So you booked 69 meetings. You have 2 AEs. That's a ton. Like that keeps them busy the whole month. For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, they're busy, and so sometimes it's a struggle because their calendars are so full that I want to book a meeting. I don't want it to be having to book it out like 2 weeks later because their calendars are so full. So it's kind of, I'm trying to balance that out and get the meetings to happen as soon as I can. You know, could strike while the iron is hot, while the prospect is interested. You want to get them on that demo as soon as possible.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about tools. So, of course, you use your own for your data, LeadIQ, but what are some other tools that you're using to get better? You talked a little bit about video and other
Mhm.
stuff. So, what's your day-to-day like when it comes to tools?
Yeah, so we use Salesforce, Sales Navigator. Sales Navigator is, really important to my workflow. Um, I probably look at my people also people have viewed my profile at least 3 or 4 times a day, and being able to like build targeted lists using Sales Navigator and then use LeadIQ to get the data and import it into Salesforce is huge. We actually use both Outreach and SalesLoft here because we integrate with both. So when we do demos, we need to be able to like demo with either, depending on what the customer has, if they have SalesLoft or Outreach. So we have the ability to use both, and we also use Vidyard for video too.
Cool. That sounds great. Seems like a
Hmm.
cool tool set there. Cool, man. This has been a really fun half an hour. Last couple of things to think about is, favorite incentives or spiffs or things that you think are cool for SDRs to like. What's kept you as an SDR for so long, right? Of course, you're really good at it. You have a passion for it. You're a lifelong learner, and you're just like every day. I feel like regardless of what you would do in your world, you'd be getting better every day. But you become a master of this craft. What do you think gets people to become masters of their craft like you are? Incentives, spiffs, ideas, mindsets. Like, what's the secret to success?
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as like incentives, personally, I'm pretty motivated. Like a previous job that I had, we had monthly spiffs where you could either get time off, like leave work early on a Friday and get like half days on Fridays or the whole day off on a Friday. And I didn't really care about that. I was like, well, yeah, but then I won't. My numbers will be lower if I'm not in there on a Friday, and I want it to be number one every month and have more meetings than the other BDRs there. So I was more motivated by the money than like getting time off. So really like any incentives related to more higher commissions, or I'm also motivated by moving up and promotions and stuff like that. So my last job, I was a BDR, and then I got promoted to a channel sales manager. So that was something that motivated me as well.
That's awesome. Cool, man. Good stuff. This was a lot of fun. Where should people find you? Should they connect with you on LinkedIn? Should they, I don't know, where if they have any questions about today, how do they reach out to you?
Yeah, they can email me, Jeremy at leadiq.com. They can find me on LinkedIn. If they're not already one of my 6,500 connections, they can just look me up. Just type my name in LinkedIn. On Twitter, it's actually the last name and then the first name, because apparently there's already somebody on Twitter with the handle at Jeremy Leveille. So I had to put at Leveille Jeremy for my Twitter handle. But you can
There you
find
go.
me any of those places.
Cool, man. Good stuff. Thanks so much for the time. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tito. Great talking to you. Thanks for having me on. Have a good one.